Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ladies, ladies and gentlemen. I said ladies 3 times in recognition and respect to American ladies, women, and then gentlemen. We are targeting today the activity professional heroes of EndCaps who are competing and defeating COVID-19 in the front line, saving life of elderly, our senior citizens. And to my surprise, as well as my great honor, those who registered to attend this webinar, 96% of them are ladies. And when I looked to the geographical distribution of all of them, I found that you are from 40 states. So you are representing the whole United States of America. Wow, this is amazing. We in ARTDO International, which is Asia Regional Training and Development Organization International, which is initiated in 1974 as umbrella for a wide spectrum of international and national human resource development organization and reputable individuals who are actively contributing in uplifting the human resource potential and talent development and retention. In ARTDO, we do annual conferences, and this year it will be our 47th on rejuvenating, reinventing, and resilience in the digital age. And we conduct professional trainings and certified professional trainers in different fields in twinning with our sibling ITD wards. We are proud today to be accepted as continuous education provider, supporting the noble goals of EndCaps. And also, we feel that we are very happy to start our collaboration with EndCaps in the front line to mitigate depression, burnout, and caregiving stress of COVID-19. The speaker from our side who will join the EndCaps president is Karl LaRowe. Karl LaRowe is a lifetime member of ARTDO International, licensed mental health professional, international speaker, trainer, consultant, and author. He worked in the front lines like you and got depressed and burned out, still about to commit suicide. But because he is very good enough, strong and agile, was able to recover and share his lesson learned to save other people's lives. Karl LaRowe earned his master's degree from the School of Social Service Administration, University of Chicago, and he is licensed as a clinical social worker and certified mental health examiner, and he has extensive experience in the crisis intervention as well as a specialist in different fields in this area. He is a program manager, clinical director, and expert witness. And over the last 18 years, he was able to conduct more than 1,000 workshops and more than 50,000 professionals benefited from that. And also they benefit from transforming their stress and exhaustion of combustion fatigue into energy and empowerment. I'm very grateful to EndCaps President Don and my brother Britta Alex, the CEO of EndCaps, who opened the wide doors of EndCaps to us and gave us the opportunity to meet you, and hope that you will spend with us a very useful and joyful hour. And please don't forget to mute your microphone and enjoy writing in the chat box if you have an urgent question till we open the floor for open Q&A. Brother Peter, the floor for you.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum, shukran. Welcome, everyone. It really is very exciting for me to have this international collection of experts. Dr. Atif is a longtime friend. He is a medical professional by training. He's worked with the World Health Organization. We have worked together and collaborated on a variety of mission-driven organizations. And I'm very excited about the fact that this webinar not only represents a critical topic that's applicable to the healthcare profession and specifically the activity professionals that we work with and support as the National Certification Council for Activity Professionals, but it represents the kickoff of a global collaboration where we know that the need to care for older adults is growing exponentially. We know that in the next decade, for the first time in the history of Earth, there'll be more people over the age of 60 than under the age of 5. For the first time ever, we know that. We know that in the United States, by mid-century, the number of people 85 years and older is going to triple, right? These are huge statistics that are going to put an unbelievable burden on the need for care, for quality care, and that's the mission of EndCap. You know, complementary to the medical model of care, we're all about the social model of care, those life-enriching activities that are needed to optimize your physical function, your mental cognitive function, your psychosocial well-being, and all those domains that it means to be fully alive, to age well, to remain active. And given that necessity, we're currently faced with a huge crisis of the COVID, delivering care during COVID. So I'm excited to be part of this. I'm excited to have this collaboration with ARTDO, to be working with friends and colleagues who are committed to the same mission. And I'm very pleased to introduce our board president, Dawn Worsley, who I will ask to start the presentation for the webinar by setting the context of what we're talking about with respect to the activity professional and the impacts of COVID upon the workforce.
Well, hello and welcome. It's my pleasure to be part of co-presenting such an important topic as compassionate fatigue. As we know, there are many people here that may be hearing about long-term care, the social model of care, outside of the United States as well as inside. So I'll start with a history and just a context of primarily where does an activity professional work, and that's within some sort of long-term care area. And it evolved from the custodial model of care. We take care of many chronic illnesses, as well as rehabilitation, adult daycare, assisted living, continuum care, and also helping someone age in place in their home. The long-term care model focuses on more with people that have extreme physical and cognitive disabilities and is often applied to traditional long-term care nursing homes where you may see more frailer, older adults reside. I have been doing activities for well over 30 years, and our approach is really the non-pharmaceutical therapeutic intervention. And our goals are to optimize the physical, the cognitive, the psychosocial well-being, and that it's very person-centered, based on individual preferences. This skill set is something that is critical when we're being able to engage our population in these non-pharmaceutical interventions. A lot of times we work on life enrichment activities with both someone who is cognitively alert, but oftentimes with someone who's cognitively impaired. And with that cognitive impairment, sometimes often comes behavioral expressions of unmet needs. And having a trained activity professional from EndCap gives you the skill set to be able to deal on a person-centered basis and be able to develop an interdisciplinary plan of care for those that are working to address the needs of the population. When we're looking at a continuum care community, we're looking at everything from aging in place in their home to independent living, moving to assisted living, possibly within supportive services such as adult day services, moving to skilled nursing home, and then oftentimes end-of-life and hospice care. The needs, the psychosocial needs of a human doesn't stop because of a physical or cognitive illness. In fact, sometimes those psychosocial needs take precedent over a medical need. As we've always said, you cannot heal on a pill alone. It must be a collaborative effort between both the medical practitioners as well as the social practitioners, social work, activity professionals. So when we're looking at what is an activity, what does this mean? Now, by definition, it's evolved from very early nursing home regulations that started about in the 1960s in the United States. The specific term activities means any endeavor other than routine ADLs or activities of daily living. So if you think about it, activities of daily living is eating and bathing and dressing and toileting and taking medication. So if you're not engaged in one of those and you're not sleeping, it is time for activities. It's the available time you have for meaningful person-centered engagement. These activities are intended to enhance the sense of well-being and to promote the physical, cognitive, and emotional health of the person we're caring for. This includes, but not limited to, enhancing someone's self-esteem, providing comfort, providing independence, educating, allowing for creativity and self-expression, promoting success, and as always, promoting independence. Now, when we're looking at different activity domains, the activity professional remains or provides very different services to our population. And it really depends on the setting they're in and also what type of physical or social or spiritual, cognitive, and recreational needs or interests they have. As an activity professional, our first priority is to deliver meaningful programs that are of interest to that person. The activity program needs to focus on physical, social, spiritual, cognitive, and of course, recreation activities. They're developed around individualized information that's gathered through an assessment process and then implemented based on the cognitive level and functional ability of the person who has expressed an interest in that particular activity. In the United States, the long-term care industry is one of the most highly regulated industries out there. At one point, and I don't know if this is true, but a few years ago, we were more highly regulated than nuclear power. So this is one of the many out of the almost 500 regulations that govern long-term care in the United States. This is the federal tag that speaks to programming. The facility must provide based on a comprehensive assessment and care plan and the preferences of each resident, an ongoing program to support residents in their choices of activities, both facility-sponsored and individual activities and independent activities designed to meet the interest of and the support of the physical, mental, psychosocial well-being of each resident, encouraging both independent and interaction within the community. Now, while this regulation is specific to long-term care, the philosophy in which it's written upon is something that the activity professional thrives to provide for anyone, whether it is a long-term care facility, an assisted living facility, or simply someone aging in their place and we go in to the home to continue that engagement. With this regulation, as many of the activity professionals who are here with us tonight, this is language that has been typically able to be demonstrated or implemented with groups of many residents together. What COVID-19 has done has isolated our residents, and this particular language has really taken on a new meaning. And it is truly being able to work with every resident in this in-depth level to the extent humanly possible, while building and working and relying on your coworkers of other departments to be able to meet the needs of these residents. Now, the National Association of Activity Professionals is our professional association, which was established in 1982. They created EndCap, the National Certification Council for Activity Professionals, and they've also are the association listed in the federal regulations by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services that are entrusted to identify and uphold the NAP standards of practice. The standards of practice were developed by NAP, and it's the responsibility of the activity professional to implement, supervise, and evaluate all programs designed to meet a resident's individual's current interests, choices, preferences, and abilities. The program should be holistic in nature and include physical, intellectual, social, spiritual, and recreational activities. These activity services shall be provided by professionals who are trained, qualified, and certified in such programming. Activity professionals are responsible within long-term care communities in the development, implementation, and evaluation of an activity program which meets or exceeds federal, state, and local regulations and facility policies. EndCap. So we are the certification that's accepted by CMS, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, since 1986. We have trained and certified over 150,000 individuals. To deliver the social model of care, we focus specifically on the person-centered care, looking at both the social needs, emotional needs. We have different levels of professional certification. We have the activity professional certification, both at an apprentice level as well as a full certification, activity director certification, and activity consultant certification. We also have amazing engagement certifications, both in dementia and home care, that are designed for anyone who has any level of engagement with human beings. Since every engagement is an opportunity, or every time you meet another individual, it's an opportunity to engage in the social model of care. These engagement certifications become a vital part of the competencies and the skill set that caregivers, whether it's a housekeeper or a nursing assistant or a nurse practitioner, needs to have in order to understand the psychosocial needs and the engagement opportunities with the people they serve. So why we're here, COVID-19. I feel I have lived this life, and I am, there's a movie called Groundhog's Day, and every day you wake up to relive the same day over and over again, except my COVID-19 Groundhog's Day comes with about 5 or 6 changes on a daily basis. And as we were talking, Karl and I were talking before we got started, I am a frontline caregiver. Not only am I the president of EndCap, I also work directly as an activity professional. I work directly on the COVID unit for months with all COVID positive nursing home residents. I oversee and help organize and am the liaison for 15 buildings for an independent company in Maryland, and have worked very closely with professionals all over the United States, as well as our National Professional Association, to really help the activity professional understand the world in which we live in. I can tell you that in 30 years, I remember early in my career when HIV was pretty unknown, and HIV and AIDS patients were entering into the nursing home. And I try to remember the fear-based and the anxiety that I lived through then. And there's been multiple superbugs, MRSA. When MRSA first came out, it was, I can remember the fear again. But it seems that the government, the CDC, knew much more about those specific crisis, healthcare pandemics, if you might, and we were able to get consistent language and guidance. With COVID-19, because we don't know anything about it, the stress that a healthcare provider has gone through since in Maryland has been March. Many of our healthcare providers started this journey in January, February, when nursing homes were hit on the West Coast, and as they made it over, my friends and colleagues in New York who were emptying out nursing homes and taking the residents from one nursing home, splitting them up and putting them in sister facilities so that they could open up an overflow nursing home for all positive patients. The practices of how to care for someone with COVID, regardless if it was a hospital setting or a nursing home, was to shut the door to mitigate the spread. So you have a human being on the other side, and I'll get emotional because this has been a very emotional journey for me, both what I've experienced personally and also have lived through my coworkers. But to have another human being on the other side of a door, and for health concerns for your entire community, or in a hospital setting, that door is closed, limited socialization is provided because of the extreme health risk and the fact that it is airborne. And the only time someone receives engagement is for medical needs, turning, positioning, toileting, feeding. I have sat with loved ones on a virtual iPad and held their mother's hand while they took their last breath because they weren't allowed into the setting in which they were dying. I have heard from colleagues that as they have left someone's room, that person is crying on the other end, please don't shut the door, please don't leave me alone. When that situation happens to a healthcare provider day in and day out, and you're caring for individuals that you have known for 8 and 10 and 12 years, and you're helpless, the amount of stress is unprecedented. Now add on to that the daily changes from the CDC and CMS guidelines. So infection control policies that you've been following for 20, 30 years on how to care for droplet precautions or contact precautions, basic infections that you would see traditionally in an assisted living, a nursing home, or even in a hospital setting, all of a sudden we're told, no, you don't need that anymore. Now it's okay to wear one gown and hang it outside the room, and every time you go back in that room, you just put that same gown back on. No, you don't need to change your mask. No, you don't need to wear an N95 mask. I mean, I've heard from colleagues, thank goodness I work for such an incredible company, and I've never experienced not having PPE. But I have colleagues that had to wear trash bags to go in and out of residents' rooms that were not issued N95 masks because they didn't have any, that were not issued face shields, that were wearing raincoats, wearing resident gowns, hospital gowns to protect them and protect themselves because they didn't have the PPE. Staff challenges, of course, not only the challenges from someone getting ill themselves, but also the fear-based. And staff, there were staff in nursing homes in the Midwest that just walked out, that they developed COVID in the building, and the next day there were 7 staff members that showed up out of a team of 132. Social isolation is real, and it's still going on because we're not allowed to open up nursing homes. So the problem is that as we reopen, and these are the last 2 comments, and I'm going to turn it over, the social isolation continues. Facilities are given a 3 phase-in guidance. However, there are many precursors that have to be met. And because they have to be met in order to safely open, the financial burdens on a facility, the staffing burdens, as well as just ensuring that there are no more positive cases, will extend this situation that we're in, at least for the majority of the United States, through the end of the year, if not further. So the psychosocial impacts continue, both for the staff caring for them, the families who are anxiously awaiting at home to see their loved ones, and of course the residents themselves. So hopefully that sums up appropriately what my colleagues have been living through. And Karl, or Peter, I'm going to turn it back over to you for some advice and some guidance and help. So thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Dawn. Yeah, I understand the severity of what we're dealing with, the unknown, the fear, the actual physical ailments. I would just, we know people that personally who have gotten sick, and who are exposed to this danger and this stress and anxiety. So, at this point, thank you for setting that context. At this point, we'll turn it over to Karl LaRowe and ask you to please, share with us your great wisdom and sage advice. Over to you, Karl. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter and Dawn. And Dr. Atif, you are in control of the slides. So very good. Thank you. And I want to thank everybody who's attending this webinar. It's an honor to be here with you, especially those of you who are on the front line providing person-centered care to those who need it the most. I hope my audio is coming through clearly. Let's go to the next slide, Dr. Atif. Again, the first thing I want to do is to thank all of the caregivers for their dedication, their commitment, and literally placing yourself at risk for those who are most vulnerable. Almost every day in the news, I see thanks going out to the doctors and the nurses and the ICUs and the ERs, but rarely are the professionals who are working in the nursing facilities ever mentioned. And I just wanted to be sure to let you know just how appreciated you are. So thank you very much. What I'm going to present today is also written in detail in a free ebook that is available to download from my website at the address at the bottom of this slide. I hope that is showing up. My website is www.compassionstrengths.com. And if you go to that website, there is a button on the left-hand side on the bottom that's called Emotional First Aid. Press that button, and you can download a free ebook that has everything I'm going to talk about today. It also has videos or links to videos that you can watch to guide you through some of the self-care activities. I'm going to talk about most of them, and then at the end of the webinar, we're going to try one out. So I have just a couple of objectives for this webinar. And the first one is really understand how caring for your residents, especially with COVID-19 pandemic, can result in compassion fatigue among caregivers. So compassion fatigue is a particular kind of stress on top of everything else that you're already experiencing. Is a particular kind of stress that caregivers get when they're working with people, when they have an empathic engagement with clients or residents, and they're literally picking up on that person's suffering, that person's discomfort, and it really can impact us. It's part of our empathy, but when we connect with people who are suffering, we co-experience that suffering in the process. So we've got that. It's actually called secondary traumatic stress, and we've got that on top of all of the other stresses that you're experiencing. Okay, let's go to the next slide, Dr. So the second objective is to learn simple, easy self-care methods you can do anytime, anywhere, to better manage your stress and become as strong and as resilient as possible. So these are very, very simple, easy to do techniques. And I still do them myself. As Dr. Atif mentioned, I experienced compassion fatigue and burnout and severe depression as a result of my work in a busy inner city ER. And I had to learn methods to renew and refresh my energy. And the thing that I can tell you is they're simple and they're easy, but they're effective and they're powerful. All it really requires is making a commitment to do them on a regular basis. So I'm going to talk about them. I'll lead you through one at the end, but it's really up to you to make your mind up that yes, I can practice self-care activities that can have an impact on how I feel. Okay, let's go to the next slide, Dr. Compassion fatigue. What is it? The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines it as the physical and mental exhaustion and emotional withdrawal experienced by those who care for sick or traumatized people over an extended period of time. And this is really a fairly good definition, because what we experience so often is that physical and mental exhaustion. And this is what I hear from people who are on the front line. This is what I experience. Starting a shift so tired you can barely even cope yourself, wondering, how am I going to get through my shift? I'm physically exhausted. I'm mentally drained. How am I ever going to manage this? And so this physical and mental exhaustion, what it actually is blocked energy. It's not lack of energy. It's blocked energy. What happens to us is that we go into a secondary traumatic stress reaction, and as a result, we literally block our energy. And I'll talk about that in a little bit, but it's important to understand that this isn't just a lack of energy. This is actually blocked energy. And so when we experience this stress inside, what we do is we involuntarily tense and tighten our muscles, and we withhold our breath, and we're literally blocking our energies. Next slide, Dr. There we go. Thank you. All right. So one of the things that I sort of researched when I wrote my first book called Breath of Relief, Transforming Compassion, Fatigue into Flow, is a thing I called the caregiver personality. And what I found is that those of us who go into caregiving usually do so because we feel called into the profession. It certainly isn't for the great deal of money and easy work conditions and the easy hours. We go in there because we feel called. And we share certain traits. And a couple of those traits is to put other people's concern ahead of our own. That's just one of the things that we do. We're that kind of person where we tend to put our clients or our residents' concerns ahead of our own, or we sometimes downplay what we need. We can minimize our own internal distress. And while this makes us a good caregiver, it makes us very attentive to the people we're helping, it's hard on us. We often tend to not pay attention to how we're feeling. We often minimize our distress. And one of the things that we really need to learn to do is to pay attention to what's going on inside of us. And I'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes. Let's go on to the next slide, Dr. Atif. One of the things, I guess it was a turning point in my own treatment, my own therapy, was having to recognize that I am just as deserving of care as the clients that I serve. And so I call it You Are Good Enough. And this is actually the title of my second book. And it's about learning to honor ourselves. To honor ourselves is also to honor our clients. To take care of ourselves is also to take care of our clients. So in order to really take care of ourselves, we need to know in our hearts that we're just as deserving of the care and concern we provide others. And many of us have come from homes that may have been troubled. This is often where we learn that we want to become a caregiver. And in the process, sometimes we have sort of the tendency not to honor ourselves as much as we need to. So one of the most important things I learned in my recovery is that I am also good enough. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. So the next slides are going to be the method, so somatic awareness. This is the first method, the first technique that I often teach people in my workshops. Somatic awareness is the process of bringing your attention into your body to become more aware of what you're experiencing as you experience it. Because this is what happens. When we get stressed, when we get so concerned with our clients, we don't pay attention to what we're feeling inside. And emotions begin in the body. Our minds may recognize, oh, those tense shoulders, that means you're stressed, or that sense of heaviness in your heart, that means you're sad, or that burning in your gut, that means you're angry. But emotions begin in the body first. And one of the reasons we get so stressed out is that those stress feelings, we don't pay attention to them and they build up over a period of time. And by the time our minds finally say, I'm really stressed out, it's been in the body for a long time. So somatic awareness is learning to shift our attention, not just in our head, but also to bring it into our bodies and to pay attention to what we're actually feeling inside. So it's literally checking in with ourselves. And again, in the ebook, I got a video which will lead you through a process of exactly how to do this. Okay. And oh, by the way, the areas, just for your own information, areas that we tend to hold stress the most, I'm sure you're aware of these, the neck and the shoulders. This is where everyone's tensing and tightening those muscles. It's in the heart and the chest area, and it's in the gut. So these are the three places we want to check in. We should be checking in several times a day. How do I feel in my neck and shoulders? How do I feel in my chest? How am I feeling in my gut? We need to pay attention to what's going on. Okay, let's go to the next one, Dr. Okay, discharging energy residue. Energy residue is cumulative stress and trauma that has built up in the nervous system and needs to be discharged. Every time we go into a stress reaction, our brains are producing adrenaline, noradrenaline, epinephrine, cortisol. These are all stress hormones that literally put our body into a high alert situation. Our heart beats faster. We hold our breath. Our stomachs begin to get queasy. And this is literally energy residue. And where we feel it the most, as I mentioned, is in the neck and the shoulders. There's a very simple, easy exercise that you can do to discharge, to release all of that energy that's caught in the neck and shoulders. I'll show you how to do that in just a couple of moments. We should be doing this several times a day. it's estimated in the research that we go into a stress reaction, and this is just overall, 60 times a day. That's 60 times a day. Our bodies are going into this kind of stress reaction where all of that energy gets locked into our neck and our shoulders and our chest. We need to discharge and to release this energy regularly each and every day. So again, I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. And again, it's in my ebook. The videos are very clear and they're very easy to follow. Okay, next. So the next one is what I call conscious breathing. The fact is that most of us breathe unconsciously. We're not paying attention to how we breathe. If you've ever watched a young child or a baby breathe, you'll see that they breathe much differently than we do. Their stomachs expand with each breath. Just watch a young child breathe, and you see that stomach come out with each breath. That's a full breath. That's a natural breath. We've learned to tighten our stomachs and to hold our breath in. Most of us, most of the time, are breathing incorrectly. And consider this, breath is oxygen, oxygen is energy. Breath is the major source of your energy into your body. If you're not breathing deeply and fully and absorbing that oxygen, it's no wonder that we get so tired. The way to have immediate energy right now is to begin to breathe deeper and fuller. But that means letting go of some of the tension and the tightness that's in the stomach. And again, I'll show you how to do this. The great majority of the fatigue that we experience is from lack of oxygen. I don't know if I mentioned it, but your brain uses 20% of your oxygen. Even though it's 2% of your body's weight, it uses 20% of your oxygen. It's no wonder we can't think when we get so tired and exhausted. Learn to breathe. Pay attention to how you breathe. Okay, next slide. Okay, now this is a strategy, and I just call it pause, breathe, relax, reflect, and respond. When we get stressed, and we are literally in a constant state of stress. I once spoke with one of the foremost stress researchers in the world. His name is Dr. Richard Earl. And I asked him, Dr. Earl, just how stressed are we as a society? He said, well, if you were to compare stress with the temperature of water, cold water meaning no stress, hot water meaning lots of stress, he says, we are at a simmering point. He says, we're literally simmering. He says, what we've accepted as everyday stress is literally at a simmering point. So it's very easy for us when we're confronted with a stressful situation to either get so upset that we say or do something that we wish we hadn't, so where we explode, or where we can implode into depression. So one of the things that I highly recommend is that when you notice you're on the edge, when you're feeling those muscles tense and tighten, you're feeling yourself hold your breath, you can feel the energy or the anger or the frustration ready to come out, it's time to pause, breathe, relax, reflect, and respond. Let's go to the next slide, Dr. Atif. I want to take you through the process here. Okay, let's go. Yeah. So the first thing we want to do is pause. The moment you notice you're at that point where you're sort of ready to let it go or something, you're going to say something or do something, pause. Just pause. Okay, give me the next two buttons. Pause, breathe, and relax. These are the three most important things that we can do. Because what we're doing is we're literally re-engaging the thinking brain. When we get upset, there's a part of our brain called the amygdala, which takes over, called the emotional brain. And that's when we start saying things and thinking things and doing things that just don't make any sense. When we can pause and breathe and relax, we're re-engaging the thinking brain, the prefrontal cortex. Okay, Dr. Atif, the next. And then we can reflect and finally go respond. So when we can reflect and respond, then we're in a position to, again, make sense out of what we're doing, to engage our thinking brain, to do something that really makes sense rather than something that's reactive. Now, finally, I'm going to talk about self-compassion, and then we're going to do an exercise, because one of the most important things that we need to practice is self-compassion. Because what happens to us when we're stressed out is that we begin to treat ourselves very badly. We begin to get that negative thinking going inside. We can call ourselves terrible names. And Dr. Kirsten Neff did a lot of research on self-compassion. And she says, instead of mercilessly judging and criticizing your self-perceived inadequacies or shortcomings, self-compassion means you're kind and understanding with yourself. And this is possibly one of the most important things that I learned in my life, is that I will make mistakes. I'm going to make them. And if I hold my feet to the fire every single time I make a mistake and I'm harsh with myself, I'm literally beating myself down. And you can never pull yourself up by knocking yourself down. We need to learn how to be more caring and kind and compassionate with ourselves. So let's do a real quick little exercise. I'm going to lead you through an exercise that will help you release your stress and begin to develop self-compassion. So can you see me? Am I on the screen? Okay. So here's what I want you to do. I'd like you to bring to mind a recent time in which you were really stressed out. Shouldn't be difficult to do. Just bring to mind a time in which you were stressed out and you had that angry voice on the inside going, "What's wrong with you? You stupid. How could you? Why did you do that?" That kind of stress. So bring that to mind. And let yourself feel in your body where that stress is manifesting. Where are you feeling the tension and the tightness in your body as you are remembering that stressful time? My guess it's going to be in the neck and the shoulders, because this is where we get it universally. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take a big deep breath from your diaphragm, and as you breathe in, what we're going to do is pull our shoulders up towards our ears with as big a deep a breath as we can take. We're going to rotate them back, and then we're going to go, and let it all the way out. As you're doing this, I want you to visualize, to feel, and to sense those tight, tense muscles, all the stress breaking down into pieces. So as you're pulling your shoulders up, imagine all of that stress is breaking down into pieces and that you're bringing in fresh oxygen. Let's try it again. Breathe in, pull the shoulders up, 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 all the way to your ears. Further, further. Rotate them back, all the way back, and now, release, release, let go. Give yourself permission to let go of all of that stress. It needs to be a mental and a physical feeling together. Now, if you can do that a few times during the day, you're going to be stopping the stress reaction, releasing the stress, and learning to take in more energy. All right, now, next step. Put your hand, your left hand, right over your stomach. Okay, this is where we tend to hold our breath and hold our stress in. So put your left hand right on your stomach, and let's take a couple of mindful breaths. So as you breathe in, let your stomach go. Release your stomach. Let it become soft. And as you breathe in, allow your stomach to expand with the big, deep breath in. Breathe in to a count of 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now release to a count of 6. 3, 4, 5, 6. Push all of the air out. Push it out. Now breathe in again. Big deep breath from the diaphragm. In. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now release slowly. Release it out. 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I just want you to notice how much calmer and clearer you feel. Now leave your left hand on your stomach. I want you to just leave it there. And I want you to allow yourself to notice and to feel that you're holding yourself. You're supporting yourself. You're giving yourself support. You've got this feeling of your hand, the pressure and the warmth of your hand on your stomach, and just let yourself feel that sense of support. Go ahead and take another deep breath and feel the support of your left hand on your stomach. And I want you to imagine that you can give to yourself a sense of safety and security, feeling safe and secure inside yourself. Another deep breath and allow that feeling to grow, safety and security. Now place your right hand over your heart, right on your chest over your heart. And in the same way, feel the pressure and the warmth of your right hand over your heart. And allow that warmth and a feeling of compassion and a feeling of acceptance go literally from your right hand into your heart. Give to yourself a sense of compassion, a sense of kindness, a sense of understanding. And allow yourself to just feel those feelings for a couple of minutes. See, we don't give ourselves the compassion and the care and the kindness that we need. Instead, we tend to beat ourselves up. What we need to do is to change that and take time to feed ourselves with kindness and compassion. Okay, very good. Let's go to the last slide, Dr. Atif, if you would, please. Anyway, we're on Facebook. Our group is called You Are Good Enough. It's a Facebook group. It's a support group. We have people all over the world on that group. Feel free to come and join our group. LinkedIn, my name is Compassion Strengths on LinkedIn. And again, my website is compassionstrengths.com. I'm sorry I didn't leave a whole lot of time for questions. I went through as quickly as I could, but maybe we can still take a couple.
Dr. Karl, I just got a message that someone wanted to know the breathing exercises that you gave. Are they listed in your resource?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yep. In fact, there's on my website, I've got several exercises for breathing that people can go. I've got a number of things on the website, all of the videos, and they're all on YouTube as well.
In previous conversations, you mentioned some other meditative or spiritual disciplines, martial arts. Can you speak to any of these other exercises that might be beneficial?
Thank you for asking that. Yes. In fact, one was especially useful for me. It's called Qigong. And it's you can spell it a couple of different ways. Qi, or C-H-I-G-U-N-G, or Q-I-G-U-N-G. Again, it's on my website. It's a very simple, easy, flowing exercise that I learned when I was in Singapore. And actually, it helped me get off of Prozac. I was on high doses of Prozac for years and years until I learned Qigong. And in learning to really allow my energy to come out and to flow through me rather than holding it in, I've not needed to take it. My psychiatrist said I was going to take it for the rest of my life because of how severe my depression was. But I haven't taken it now for about 30 years. Mindful movement, learning to prayer is wonderful. Meditation is wonderful. Anytime you can develop a sense of comfort and silence, and again, compassion within yourself. Yoga is wonderful. My wife loves yoga. But here's maybe one of the most important things that I could also say is that all the studies have been quite clear. If you're experiencing depression and burnout, you need to move. You need to exercise. I think mindful movement is the best kind there is, but any exercise, they're saying, is as effective as some of the medications for relieving depression. And that seems to come up again and again. So movement is essential, in my opinion.
Okay, well, I think we're approaching the top of the hour. Let me turn it over to Dr. Atif. Let me express my appreciation to our speakers. Dawn, of course, is president of EndCap. Karl, outstanding. What it means to be fully human, fully alive. Thank you for keeping us centered to what's really important and the essential responsibility to care for ourselves as part of our calling to care for others. Thank you so much. Dr. Atif, I turn it over to you, and I asked also if you could mention how people will receive their CE certificate for this. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Actually, we are very happy and we benefit a lot from these sessions and talk of Dawn and Karl LaRowe. And we hope that even later, if you have any further question, you can write to EndCap or ARTDO International, and we will respond on the spot. Actually, we have the list of the people attended, and we will send the certificate, which is from ARTDO and endorsed by EndCap. And it is 1 hour continuous educational certificate. We hope that next time we can have also other type of webinars. And I will put in the chat box the evaluation form. You are highly welcome to fill it because we would like to benefit from your feedback.
Okay, well, on behalf of the National Certification Council for Activity Professionals and our professional association, NAP, thank you all. Have a safe and great evening. To those folks on the other side of the world, it's great that technology lets us be present together. I think we're going to see a lot more of this technology used in engagement. So stay well. Thank you. Be safe. And let's do this again. I know I value this personally. Thank you.
This was fun. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
It's a great pleasure. Thank you very much.